Hey, this is Rob from Producer Tech, and I'm going to run you through some of the great new features in Maschine 2.6.8, accessible to all software users, as well as some improvements specifically for Jam. First up, there's a new Bass Synth, which now means that the Maschine software without any external plugins can be used to synthesize both drums and bass lines. And they made it really easy to do this with a whole load of new presets found in the sounds category of the browser now, which are the new Bass Synth plus various effects chains. Despite being capable of producing a wide range of sounds, as you can hear, the interface itself is very minimal. So not the comprehensive control set you find on other NI synths, but instead basically 8 parameters. So a single page of controls, which fit neatly onto the LCD screen when using Mark II or Studio, or the touch strips on Jam. And there you get control over the oscillator waveform at the start, where you can morph from one to the next, as well as set the octave, filter cutoff and resonance, filter modulation amount, and amplitude envelope decay, a drive control for adding distortion, and lastly, a glide time, with the glide on and off being activated on page 2. The next big update is the addition of an isomorphic keyboard layout on the Jam hardware, selected in the Scale menu, which allows significantly easier playing of melodies and chords, with a fourths interval now meaning scales can be played with 3 notes per row, or going up in thirds with 2 notes per row, as well as being able to go both horizontally or vertically across the pads. This means with a bass line, for example, it's easier to play riffs which before would have required 2 hands, like in fourths here, which is a handy layout for bass lines. Or in thirds mode, where you now have the notes of a minor triad accessible on one single column, making arpeggios easy to play. And of course, for other melodic sounds, this same principle applies, where I can now play a minor 7 or 9 chord just by going up the grid. So it's much easier to remember chord shapes now. Also on Jam, the piano roll has a slight tweak, which makes creating acid bass lines with the new Bass Synth really easy. So in the piano roll, I'll just add in some steps to play a half-bar phrase. But now, on the top row, instead of it being used to trigger the next note up in the scale, it now turns glide mode on and off for the synth, where you then set the glide time with the end slider. I'll slow it down so it's easier to hear. So I'll use the buttons to add some glide up to the higher notes at the end of the phrase. And in the software, it's basically just automating the glide on-off control on page 2 on those steps for you. So while we're adding automation, let's maybe play around with the shape and filter controls, and now speed it back up. Cool. So that's it. I hope you enjoy the new features in Maschine 2.6.8. I'll see you next time.